Essentially just a, what do you call this? Hi and welcome back to Acorn Knits. My name's Natalia and I'm a knitter based in Sydney, Australia. And this is just my little nook on the internet where I talk about what I'm knitting, what my plans are, and just anything fun that really falls along the way. So I've sort of changed up the setup. See what I think of this one. I think it's a nice little corner in the apartment. The only thing with this area is that it's in the corner of our living room. So if my boyfriend wants to be doing something else, it's a bit difficult because obviously for just residual noise, he has to sort of stay a bit quiet, and also it's a little awkward recording in front of someone. So the normal setup is a little bit more private, but seeing as I'm at home today, I thought I might give this one a try and see how it goes. So let me know what you think. I don't know if there's maybe too much going on, but I just think it's maybe a little nicer than just a plain white wall. So anyway, also I feel like I look quite different when I see myself on camera. I got a haircut recently. I mean, nothing crazy, but the hairdresser convinced me to get a gloss over my hair, and I thought it would just sort of make it shinier, but it has color and pigment in it, so it's made it quite a bit darker. Normally I'm sort of like a dirty blonde, which always sounds like someone who's brunette in denial. But my natural hair color is sort of like a dark blonde mousy sort of color, and it's looking pretty dark on camera, so I don't know how I feel about it, but it will fade. So anyway, and it is getting cooler, so maybe it's a nicer winter color. Anyway, not that that really matters, but if you're wondering, that's why this looks so dark. So with that out of the way, I think I'll just chat about what I've been working on. I mean, it's not 100% finished, but it's finished enough for me to call it a finished object. This is obviously too big for me, but just to give you an idea of the size and the fit, I don't know if it's going to give you any idea really. It's way too big for me, but there we go. So, got the raglan, move that out of the way. Got the raglan shaping here on the shoulder and on the back. Da, 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 da. I really love how you pick up the stitches for the collar so it can easily sort of flip back if you want it to, but it sets up really nicely. And then you've got 7 of these buttons on there. Got a bit of a 2x2 rib on the sleeve and on the bottom there. This is my very unprofessionally modeled Ranger cardigan. So there we go. I can't believe this is finally finished. It actually didn't take me too long. It's just that I had a hiatus on it for a while because it was knitting up pretty quickly. If I think about how long I've spent on this, it's probably been 3 months. But like I said, that was with some pretty long breaks in it. Let me show you. So I obviously finished all the yoke, and then I've done the collar and the button band. See, with the little 1-row buttonholes, which are fantastic. I feel like I'm going to be doing these buttonholes from here on out. I think they're just so great. They're so easy and they look really neat and clean. I think it's I'd never done this style of buttonhole before. I'd always done a sort of yarn over, knit 2 together style buttonhole, but these ones where you cast off the number of stitches. So let's say you're working over 4 stitches that you want to cast off for the buttonhole. These are 3. I'll use this as an example actually. So these are a 3-row buttonhole. So you cast off 3, but you do so without knitting any extra. You essentially just slip them and then bind off that way. And then you turn the work and use a cable cast on to cast on the same amount of stitches plus 1 extra. And then you just you essentially bind off that extra stitch with the ones from the fresh needle. I am terrible at explaining things. I feel like I'll just put a link to a video that talks about it. But it just creates this really neat Buttonhole, and what I really love about it is the bound off stitches and the cast on stitches create a nice frame around it. I also worked mine on the wrong side because I felt like it gave a neater finish on the right side because you get to see kind of more of, if I compare, that's what it looks like on the right side, you can see. And then on the wrong side, I guess they're similar, but I feel like it's just not quite as neat. It's a little, you know, like you get these pearl bumps here for where you get the cast on, and yeah, I just think it looks neater when worked on the wrong side, so it's showing on the right side. So I haven't obviously sewed the buttons on, which I'm terrible for doing, but I have bought them at least. So my issue with buttons is I really and ah over what ones I want for a project. You know, is that gonna be too big or is that gonna match it in color? And because I'm generally buying them online, it's hard to know. So I'd much rather go into a store and be able to pick up the button and look at it against the project than try and work out online. But with this, I thought, no, I'm not gonna do that because, like I mentioned before, this is a gift for my boyfriend's father. His birthday is in early April, pretty much a month to the day. And I didn't want to and ah about it any longer, so I just saw some interesting buttons. I think they're by Merchant & Mills. They haven't arrived yet. I only ordered them yesterday. I got 7 of them. They were 20 millimeters. They're this interesting color. They call it chalk. It's white, but a little bit with a gray marl through it. And it's made, I think, from recycled cotton and maybe some polyester or... No, I think it's recycled cotton, and I guess they've used a resin in some way or some kind of plastic to set it in. But that's this done! And it's huge. It's so massive. I'm just so relieved to have it finished. I also will sew a little tag in here for him, one of my own tags. But now it's like this huge relief because now I can start knitting something else. And I'm pretty sure the next one I'm gonna do is gonna be the Moody Fairy. I was thinking maybe I would use the spin cycle yarn I purchased to make the stone crop cardigan. I was originally thinking the pullover, but I think the cardigan's probably more likely to get more wear. I really do love a good cardigan. So I was thinking that, but then I only have the spin cycle yarn. I haven't got the base color yarn, and that's also something that I and ah about. This is a recurring feature. I tend to spend way too much time overthinking purchases. I do very little time buying things and I spend a lot of time thinking about it. I thought, no, I'll just wait a little bit longer before I do the stone crop. Just wait till I actually get the yarn. But seeing as I have all the yarns I need to do the Moody Fairy shawl, and I purchased the pattern, I thought, well, that makes the most sense. I'm gonna do that one. So I'm really looking forward to starting it, especially because it's got all these really interesting stitch patterns and color changes and just something to kind of keep me interested. At the moment, I feel like everything I was working on was pretty mindless. I mean, there was obviously some shaping and, you know, different things to pick up with this, but for the most part, I was just repeating the same stitch pattern over and over again, and it got a bit tedious. I would like something, I think, to kind of change it up a bit, especially as I'm still working on the Setesdal sweater. I'm not gonna bother showing it because it's just grown a bit. I haven't hit any different parts. It's very simple shaping. It's just a straight, what do you call this? I keep thinking cube. Cube isn't the right word. Tube. That's why I was thinking cube. It's just a tube. It's just the same, it's no shaping, so there's nothing interesting to show with that one, I think. So yeah, Moody Fairy, I think I will probably cast that on this weekend. So maybe have a little bit to share next week? I don't know. I don't think there'll be very much. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Stick around for that, we'll see. So aside from working on the Ranger and the Setesdal this week, the other thing I've been working on is creating a little design for a local yarn store. They have their own line of yarns that they make, their own house brand, I suppose, and they've put out a call for people to submit designs using those yarns. And at the moment, you just need to provide essentially a proof of concept. So just a basic idea of the design, like a schematic of it, and then a swatch to show, you know, the stitch pattern or the gauge and things like that. So I thought I would submit a design with one of their house yarns, which they call it a rustic yarn. It's 100% wool and it's undyed, or at least it appears to be undyed. It looks like just natural sheep fleece. So I thought I would do a kind of Nordic inspired yoke sweater design. At the moment, like I said, I don't have to have created the design, I just need the proof of concept. So I have created a chart for it, and this is just a little idea of the swatch as to how it would look. So it is a little bit difficult. I guess you can see the color difference on camera. It's a little harder to see in person. And these are just ideas for colors. So these colors are really just an example of what the Colourwork would knit up to look like. I would still be using obviously undyed sort of natural colors. I just had to make do with what I had on hand. I tend to keep a pretty lean stash. I had to sort of mix very different types of yarn. So these two are the most similar. There we go. These two are the most similar. That's the Snældan. This one here is a really interesting yarn. I'm gonna show that afterwards. I bought it recently on Etsy and it's incredible. This is the Malabrigo, I think. It's the one I used to knit the Seasons cardigan that I showed in my first video. It's a single ply, I think Peruvian wool. It's very, very soft. And then this black one here is I think this black one here, it's an organic merino, Australian. It's a 2-ply DK weight. Sorry. So yeah, that's my little swatch. So I'll submit the idea soon and we'll see, who knows. But it was just fun to knit up. Because I did it flat though, my God, having to purl Colourwork, no way. I think, especially something where in certain sections I had to be holding 3 colors at once. I would not do that again. No way. Any Colourwork, I'm doing it in the round. I'm not doing it flat. That is so tedious. And just to think in the past how people had to just do that. Like that's what you do and then you seam it. It's just such a pain in the butt. It's a lot easier to carry it when you're knitting rather than purling. That is not fun. So as I mentioned, this brown yarn is something I purchased on Etsy from a seller in Lithuania, I'm pretty sure. I'll put her link below. So it's a 2-ply yarn. It sort of knits up to about a DK-ish weight, I would say. It's a blend, so it's a mix of 20% wool, and get this, 80% Caucasian Shepherd dog. So if you don't know these breeds, I'll put a photo in. They're also known as Ovcharka. They've got a bunch of different names. There's ones like bear dogs and stuff like that, but these dogs are incredible. I am such a sucker for huge dogs, and these dogs are huge and they are fluffy. You don't love me! But yeah, it's kind of a beigey browny kind of color, very generously sized, and I'm pretty sure it's made by just a small family production in Lithuania. I think a lot of her wool is spun and made by them, and it's, like you can see, it's quite natural. It's still even got some fibers in there like grass and stuff like that. And this is a lot softer than I was expecting it to be. In all fairness, it's not gonna feel like Angora or even merino or anything like that. It definitely has a bit more tooth to it, but it's softer than I was expecting. I was expecting something quite scratchy and rough, and it just feels like a natural wool, really. If you had very sensitive skin, you probably couldn't be wearing this up around your neck, but I think you could easily wear this on the arms and things like that as a sweater if you had a short sleeve on. I just think it's so interesting. And apparently it's meant to have quite good warming properties, I would imagine, because these dogs were bred, you know, I think sort of around Georgia, I think in particular, but in areas obviously where it gets very cold, they're gonna have quite a dense fur, a dense coat, and so I guess that can produce a lot of warmth with that undercoat, that really soft sort of, I don't know, down? Is that what you even call it? I feel like that's not right. But anyway, so I'm interested to make a little bit more with this. It was just used for that swatch, but I've got quite a bit of this because I wanted to buy as much as I could because I didn't know how regularly she'd be stocking it. So I'm not sure what I will do with this. I'm imagining definitely some kind of, definitely a sweater, maybe a cardigan. We shall see what this one shall become, but it's very special. So that's my little dog wool yarn. It's just so cool. I just love, the internet's amazing that I can purchase something like this from Lithuania, from a breed of dog that we don't even have in Australia. Is incredible. So with this little stash acquisition, that's everything I have to share for this week. And I'm looking forward to chatting next week, hopefully when I've got the Moody Fairy on the needles up and running. I think that will be very exciting. Although it's just more decisions about what colors I'm gonna do in order. So, because I've got 4 different colors to choose from, like which will be the main, which will be the, it doesn't really matter because it doesn't matter, but it matters to me. So I'm gonna have to just get over that. The other thing is it's finally getting cool in Australia. So you can see I'm even in like a sort of longer sleeve top. It is cooling down, especially because of all that rain that we had, but we are slowly getting into the cooler seasons. So I love knitting all year round, but it really comes into its own in winter, and especially trying to knit through an Australian summer is not particularly pleasant. You're limited, I think, to what you can knit. And so I'm looking forward to sort of having that revival of inspiration to knit throughout these colder seasons. So that's gonna be really nice. So I wonder for any of my viewers who are in a different part of the world, if they're in Europe or the US or wherever, if you're now coming into the warmer months, what are your plans for knitting when it does get warmer? Maybe socks or little camisoles, or I don't know, I'd love to hear, because I'm always inspired to hear about what people knit in the summertime, because it does sometimes feel limiting, and I don't think it needs to be. I think it's just changing your attitude towards what sort of projects you can do. So anyway, I will speak to you next week, and until then, take care. Bye.